Recently, a lot of you guys have been asking us, whether it's in the comments, at card shows, in our DMs on social media, how do you start your own Pokemon business? And this makes complete sense. There has been so much hype surrounding Pokemon within the last 6 months that it seems like everyone and their mom wants to get into the hobby. But I'm going to caution you, before we get into this video, I'm just letting you know now that if you are not truly passionate about Pokemon, the TCG, or the brand itself, do not get into this. Building a business in this industry takes a lot of grit, passion, and most importantly, time. There's no get-rich-quick solution here, okay? I'm not Ty Lopez, I can't give that to you. But what I can tell you is if you guys can soak up enough knowledge, you will make progress. And for those of you guys out there that don't know me, my name is Tony Pepperoni. I'm a part owner of Sterling Cards, and I started this business in my shed in my backyard. Yeah, you heard that right. A literal shed. Okay, listen, it has electricity and it has insulation and all that good stuff, but it is still in my backyard, and this is 80 square feet of pure hustle. Now, everyone has their own methodology as to how to build a Pokemon card business, and I encourage you guys to go out and watch other people's videos as well, especially because there are a lot of people out there that are a lot more successful than us. They have different business models, so seriously, go out there, be a sponge, soak up as much information as you can, and then make a decision and go from there. And I assume the majority of the people watching right now are probably in a similar boat as to how I was when I first started this business. I didn't have a large cash infusion. I didn't know anyone in the hobby that could just propel us to the next level immediately. And I didn't really have a huge childhood collection that I could just sell off for even more cash to infuse into the business. So if you guys are in a boat like us, maybe even a little bit of a nicer boat, maybe it has like a cool crow's nest or a really cool hull or something like that, this video will be for you. We're gonna go over how we started the business, what decisions we had to make to grow it, how we grew it, so on and so forth. Okay, my yap sesh is over. Let's get started. So the first thing you guys want to do is deciding what you want to sell. This is before the logo. This is before naming your business. This is before buying anything that you need to be buying. You need to understand what you're selling and why you want to sell it. Some factors could be that it's easy to sell, it has large margins, it's easy to acquire, it's really high in demand. All of these things are super important to analyze just because you don't want to start off selling something that's impossible to sell. It's super expensive. You have a high risk of getting burned. You want to set yourself up for success. We started off with $300 and we had to be super strategic with what we wanted to buy because one wrong move and all of that money's gone. So me and my business partner Dante decided to start off selling singles and sealed product. And even though we really wanted to get into slabs at first, we had to avoid it because it was just too expensive and the risk of grading was just too much for us at the moment. And your initial inventory doesn't have to be perfect. You can always pivot later on, level up, and get cooler, higher quality stuff as time goes on. But you need to start with something that's manageable, that you understand, and that you can really sell. So now you know what you want to sell, you know how you want to sell it. So now it's time to make yourself legit and start branding. The foundation of any brand is going to be the name and logo. Don't half-ass it. If you have a strange logo or name, I feel like people are just going to write you off and they're not going to take you as seriously, and it's going to be a lot harder to scale up and really build that brand image. I personally designed our logo. I don't have a ton of logo design experience, but it's just something that I was just messing around with one day. I thought it looked pretty decent, and so we just made it our logo. But if you don't have any design experience whatsoever and you barely know how to work a computer like my mom, you can use design tools like Canva, Namelix, Brandmark, and probably 100 other tools. After all the fun creative stuff is done, now it's time to actually make yourself legit on paper. For us, we formed an LLC. It just made the most sense, and I feel like that's what a lot of people go with. This is also going to require some more research. I don't know if you guys have seen the theme yet, but all of this is a ton of research, okay? We went through an online vendor, which was LegalZoom. They were great, super helpful, super fast. You do have to pay a certain amount to incorporate, but that's the price of making your business legit. You should also make an email and make it a branded email and start creating the social media pages. You don't have to start posting on them yet, but just, get the name in there so you don't have to pay someone for the handle. And the most important part, and guys, I mean, if there is anything I need to emphasize in this video, this part is it. Fill out your state's form for a reseller certificate. This certificate saves you from paying sales tax on things that you plan on reselling. So if you go on eBay and you buy a couple of cards, instead of paying taxes on those cards, you're not going to pay tax because it's under your reseller certificate. It's essentially a partial exemption from certain taxes, and we didn't get one until about like a year, maybe a year and a half in, and we could have saved a ton of money. So please get one. Seriously, it's going to help you guys out in the long run. You only have to fill it out once, I believe, unless there's some sort of update. And it's hands down the most helpful thing when starting out. It's going to save you a ton of money. All right, now we're on to the third step that I struggle with. A lot. The cards are they're just so shiny. This is all about sourcing your inventory. This step should be a lot easier if you did your due diligence in step 1. Like I was saying, you have to be really calculated in what you want to buy, how you want to buy it, and when you want to buy it. Especially with the limited capital that we had to be really strategic with what we wanted to buy. In the beginning, we focused on products that we found to have a very low barrier to entry. Stuff that was within our budget, super easy to buy, really easy to sell, and we could just really rinse and repeat. And from my experience being in this business, anywhere from 10 to 20% I would consider a fairly decent margin. Obviously, some items are going to have a lot higher, some items will have a little bit lower, but all in all, that's kind of the range you want to look for. And that was the rule of thumb that we utilized starting off. Now, depending on where you live or kind of what's going on around you, you might want to prioritize these in like a different order. But for us, we prioritize card shows, then Facebook Marketplace, and then eBay for buying our inventory. Initially, card shows us were the cream of the crop because the more you buy there, the more of a discount they're willing to give you. And people are motivated sellers when they're buying a table just to sell stuff at card shows. And then came Facebook Marketplace because people were still, pretty motivated to sell. And then the last one was eBay. We primarily utilized eBay to buy bulk lots, and we would kind of sort through them and then make different bundles and pick out certain cards that we would want to sell. And truthfully, our first few deals netted us either no money or we actually lost money on them. But as time goes on and you get better at identifying things and knowing the product that you and your audience wants, these deals will become a lot more profitable. And if you guys want a really deep dive into how we source our inventory, we just created a video about a month, maybe a month and a half ago, and it goes over all the different ways that we source our inventory now. It's super in-depth and it will definitely help you guys out in the long run. Remember, it's all about margin and being able to make some money off of the money you already spent so you can continue to snowball and grow your business. Step 4, this step we really neglected for quite a period of time, but we're back on it now and it's helping us a lot, and you guys got to hit the ground running when it comes to this step. And that is social media. I'm actually shocked how many businesses that are in this hobby that just straight up don't have any social media pages, or they have some and they just don't post on them ever. Especially in this day and age, I feel like social media is such a cornerstone of any business, and if you don't have it, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And like I was saying, we slept on social media at first. We posted inconsistently, had really poor quality content, like not just like content wise, but like visually. I mean, why was my face this zoomed in on these YouTube videos, man? And it got to the point where we just stopped altogether. We weren't seeing results and we kind of just gave up. And that was a big mistake. And while we did pick it back up, hence you guys watching this video right now, I truly think we would have been a lot further along if we just kept posting, worked through the pain points, and just kept making better quality content. The key here is consistency, and similar to what I was saying with buying and selling, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and hopefully, in theory, the more people are going to actually want to watch your content. I would say social media, but more importantly, TikTok has been the backbone of a lot of our online sales as well, and so I highly recommend you guys make a TikTok page and just start posting. Even if it's not the best at first, you just got to put your name out there, put your face out there, your brand out there, and people will come. And if you're wondering, Tony, what do I post on my social media? Well, that's up for you to decide. Look at content that you're consuming, look at content that maybe you think there needs to be more of, and just start posting. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I look back on some of my older videos from 2 years ago and I cringe so hard, but you only can get better the more that you do it. So create your social media pages and post consistently, guys. And now this last step, guys, I can't really teach you. I can only kind of give you my personal opinion on it and how we did it for our business, because every business is different. Everyone has a different audience and everyone sells different inventory. The final step is scaling up your business and evolving it. You have your processes figured out. You got your branding figured out. You got your social media figured out. You know how you're going to source and sell your inventory. You got all of these channels flowing now, and now you need to figure out how do you keep it going and how do you only get bigger. The landscape is ever changing, right? There's always new sets coming out. There's always new developments, whether it's with the government, whether it's within the hobby, whether it's with certain influencers, maybe manufacturers. There's just so many different things that play a role in this that you just really need to be able to be adaptable and understand what you guys need to do for your own brand and business. When we started off, we were flipping those cards on Whatnot for, I would want to say 6 to 10 months, maybe even up to a year. And then we decided to pivot because Whatnot kept raising their fees. That's when we made the move to sell off all of our inventory and then use that capital to buy raw cards that we wanted to get graded. And then we started selling those graded cards online and at card shows. Once we realized that it was still kind of expensive for us to travel around the country to set up at card shows, we started streaming on TikTok. We started selling singles and slabs, and then we eventually even got into repacks because it's what our audience wanted. Us 3 years ago would consider a 25 card PSA submission to be huge, and now we have, I think, over 250 cards in singular orders being sent off to PSA. And that brings Sterling Cards to today. We're still growing, we're constantly evolving, we're continuously trying to improve our content, but most importantly, we are enjoying the process. This is all so much fun to us. We love making content, we love selling things, we love looking at cool, unique Pokemon cards. It all doesn't feel like a job. This feels very much so still like a passion project, and we're just happy to make some money off of of it. If you're thinking about starting a Pokemon card business, just know that it's not easy. It's going to take resources. It's going to take grit. It's going to take time. And most importantly, it's going to take passion. And as usual, guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, and we will catch y'all next week. Peace.